Discipleship. What comes to your mind when you think of that word? If you're like me, emotional health probably isn't one of the top things that comes to your mind when you think of the word discipleship. We tend to kind of sweep that under the rug. And so we're going to a series called You Matter. We've done this before, but it's a recurring series. We want to come back to the topic of mental health. And I personally like the term emotional health better. But the root of the issue when we kind of divide emotional health from the umbrella of discipleship, looking more like Christ, being a Jesus follower, is because we've got a faulty biblical theology, meaning that we've got a faulty spirituality. The link between emotional health and spiritual maturity is this large unexplored area of discipleship. If you simply look at Scripture with this new set of eyes, we see a Jesus who is able to express his emotions with unashamed, unembarrassed freedom. He shed tears, was filled with joy, was grieved, was angry, was overcome with sadness, felt compassion, felt sorrow, showed astonishment and wonder, and felt distress. Most people simply think of discipleship in terms of spirituality, but we are more than just spiritual beings. There's also emotional, intellectual, social dimensions to our lives. In Ephesians 3 verse 16, Paul writes, "I pray that from his glorious unlimited resources he will empower you with inner strength through his Spirit. Then Christ will make his home in your hearts as you trust in him. Your roots will grow down into God's love and keep you strong. And may you have the power to understand, as all God's people should, how wide, how long, how high, and how deep his love is. May you experience the love of Christ. Though it is too great to understand fully, then you will be made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God." So what does a healthy inner life mean? It's the center of who you are, your personality, your thoughts, what you tell yourself about yourself, your choices, your emotions. So remember, we cannot separate emotional health from spiritual maturity. When we know we are loved by God, I mean truly loved, deeply known that we matter, we have value, we are important, that gives us the ability to go beneath the surface in our own lives, to break the power of the past on us, to live in brokenness and vulnerability with ourselves, God, and others, and to embrace who God has created us to be, accepting the limits he has given us as a gift, allowing us to be made complete with the fullness of life and power that comes from God. But you know what is scary? The amount of Christians who are emotionally numb, emotionally immature. Most Christians are self-conscious, not self-aware. We should be asking questions of ourselves that actually make us uncomfortable. Questions like, why am I always in such a hurry? Why am I so impatient? Why am I constantly distracting myself? Why am I so anxious? Why am I so worried about what others think about me? Why am I devastated when I'm criticized? Why is it so hard for me to know what I'm actually feeling? None of these questions are fun. This is not usually a good time, but we can enter someone else's world only after we've entered our own. Dealing with your inner life, what's really happening within us, it makes us feel weak. So the great irony is that it takes strength to feel weak. It takes courage to enter those dark areas of your life. Maybe you need to learn that following Jesus is not always about being the strong one. That following Jesus is actually about being the weak one who was made strong by God. Jesus was someone who had intense, raw, emotional experiences. You are perfectly loved and accepted by God because of his life, death, and resurrection for you. You can stop acting like you have it all together, because the truth is none of us do. You can stop being strong. The strongest thing we know you can do is to begin to deal with your weaknesses, to start addressing them, to start looking at them, start asking questions about them, knowing that you stand before God as loved because of what Christ has done allows you the freedom to do this, to explore those dark areas and aspects of who you are in your heart and life. In a book called Emotionally Healthy Church, Pete Scazzero, the author, wrote this about living in brokenness and vulnerability, a prayer that was written a couple hundred years ago that says, "I ask God for strength that I might achieve. I was made weak that I might learn humbly to obey. I ask God for health that I might do great things. I was given sickness that I might do better things. I asked for riches that I might be happy. I was given poverty that I might be wise. I asked for power when I was young that I might have the praise of men. I was given weakness that I might feel the need for God. I asked for all things that I might enjoy life. I was given life that I might enjoy all things. I got nothing that I asked for, but everything I had hoped for. Almost despite myself, my unspoken prayers were answered. I am among all people most richly blessed." So let me ask you these questions. Do you feel confident you are loved by God? And rarely, if ever, question his acceptance for you. Do you have a hard time identifying how you're actually feeling? And are you honest with yourself about it? Do you easily admit when you're wrong? Our hope is in this series, you begin to realize that you matter, that you have value. You actually have way more impact and influence than you realize. And you matter not just because of what you do, but because of who you are. You matter to God, you matter to others, and you matter in the world.